Hey guys, it's February 1st, the most even of all the months. Mary, you probably would like that. You're kind of I know.
I do like odd and even stuff. I do like neat, orderly stuff. February's orderly.
Okay.
Except once every 4 years, it gets all crazy with itself.
Well, we will talk about that and much more on this episode of Scooch Ovaries!
Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch Ovaries! So February's even.
February is even. I know how much you like even stuff, and you're a little bit more
OCD.
succinct. Yeah, OCD than I am. So I would figure February would be like a good month for you.
It would be, and just a quick disclaimer, we do not claim any diagnoses. We just like to make light of different things, and I do like orderly shit, even though I have not had anyone hand me a piece of paper that said, you have the following. Because if they did, they'd need more than one piece of paper.
But even though I don't see myself as being that orderly, I do like a good calendar that starts and ends on the same day. Like something about that just kind of
I love that.
Cozy. Yeah.
I like February and March because you don't have to figure out if the second was a Tuesday, because whatever it was in February, that's what it's going to be in March.
That's true.
That always makes me happy.
That's true. Although March is like, if you to look at it, there's those 3 extra days that just it makes it not as pretty. That's
true. And yeah, I just want to share that I'm pretty sure we'll use this one to submit to any awards, because this is riveting shit, what we're doing right now.
So we actually hung out during the week a couple weeks ago, and I thought maybe we could talk about that.
We did hang out in reality out there in the world. Aside from podcast recording, we did a thing, and it was fun.
We did.
What did we do, Robin?
I met you at your place of work, which happens to be the Van Wezel. See how I said it right?
Snapping like a poet basement with a beret on.
The Van Wezel, and we saw Funny Girl. I'd like to say we saw the whole entire show, but we saw half of it.
We did. We saw that sounds funny, the half of it. We saw the first act.
You don't know the half of it.
And it's funny, I went to work the next day and everybody, actually a couple days later, because everyone at the office had at that point seen it. Mm-hmm. And they were all like, Mary, you're alone and not loving it. I'm like,
oh, really?
Fuck. Yeah.
Oh.
But Robin, give me your review of Funny Girl, and also don't leave out the fun little exchange you had with your daughter during it.
Spoiler alert, I saw Funny Girl less than a year ago, because when my daughter was still in high school, we had season tickets for the Straz, which is like the Performing Arts Center in Tampa.
Fancy.
Yeah, so I had seen some of the productions that the Van Wezel gets. They've already been to Tampa. So I had seen it, and I found it just to be... And I think we've touched on this in other podcasts. It's not that it's bad. It's just it was written so long ago. They just tend to not be quick. They just tend to sort of be long, and it's just a lot. And I felt like Funny Girl, although they had some beautiful songs in there. Mm-hmm. Was it Send in the Clowns in there? No, People Who Need People.
Yeah, Send in the Clowns. I don't even know what that's in.
Oh,
People Who Need People, and I Am the Greatest Star, and also the show-stopping end of Act 1, which is the song Nobody's Gonna Rain on My Parade.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's a bad show or the songs are bad. And I know a lot of people don't like musicals, which I do, and I think the music was pretty. It's just... the plot and the speed just weren't my cup of tea.
And much like our comedy troupe, if you're going to put the word funny in the title, maybe try to be funny.
Yeah.
Maybe it was funny when it came out.
And
it wasn't that funny now.
And I think I could just break so much down.
Go ahead, break it down. We got time. What else are we doing? What are we doing? No, we can't talk about that because that would take like a minute and a half. Go ahead. Go crazy with yourself.
I don't want to waste your time. But
I'm not going to throw to commercial. Go ahead.
I think they were calling her Funny Girl because she was supposed to not be pretty, but she was funny.
That's the two choices.
Yes.
Pretty or funny.
But the actress was honestly quite stunning. And I know that Barbara Streisand famously played Funny Girl. And I think I know she has like a big nose and people sort of criticize her looks, but I don't think she's ugly. I think
She's attractive.
Yeah, I think she's attractive. And honestly, I think she's more attractive than she is funny. But I think that's the crux of Funny Girl. I think it's back in the time where, if you're a dame, you got to be pretty. But she was she was funny and she could sing good.
Yeah.
But in reality, she was also pretty.
Yeah, which is troubling to me. And all the jokes about, and there were a couple of songs about how she's just not an attractive gal. And I thought, my God, why is society so hard on everybody? But that's rhetorical.
Yeah. And see, I think like if this would have been made in 2025, it would have been like a real quick, like maybe a song or maybe like 3 lines or like a Snapchat of like, hey, you're a little ugly, but you're kind of funny. And then that would have been it. And they would have gone on to the next thing. But because this was made so long ago, there was like 2 whole scenes about her just being an uggo, and it's like, we get it. Let's go on to the next thing.
Well, I didn't like the guy she chose. He seemed like a bit of a loser. That fella.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, we didn't see the second act, so I kind of had to like let her know it was so cold, which. And you're like, oh, this is being filmed in Florida? Why is it cold? It's been so cold in Florida.
So cold.
We spent the second act because she works there in her office. She gave me coffee in her break room, and I was physically putting it on my chest. That's how cold it was.
It was very cold. And we know that you're up there, up north, folks who are listening, and then it was like 16 the other day, and we're like, oh my God, it was 39 overnight, and it's been like between 40 and 60 during the day.
That's cold.
We're not made for that anymore.
Yeah.
We've been down here a couple decades.
Yeah, and I was gonna say we're not like born and bred Florida people. This one's from New York.
I don't know how they wouldn't know where I'm from by how I talk.
I was born and raised in Sarasota, Florida.
And you're from like a farm somewhere in one of the squares.
I'm from a farm in one of the squares. And I remember one time it snowed so hard. This was like back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. My mom had to like drive us because, this is going to be a very boring story, but I lived out so far.
You can fast forward.
I lived out so far on a county road that they wouldn't even plow like part of our road.
Bastards.
I know. So my mom had to drive us in a truck to get us to a road that was plowed so then we could walk to catch the bus. And I mean, there was like snowdrifts, I remember, bigger than my head. Am I complaining 40 years later because it's 61 degrees in my house? Yeah, and it's cold.
Why is it so much to ask to just be comfortable? That's all we want. I want to be comfortable.
Just be comfortable. But if we could skip forward. So we went and we watched the first half of Funny Girl. Yeah. I was very cold. We went to her office. I drank coffee. I put the hot coffee, not like poured it. But
you held the mug to your chest because you were cold.
It was so cold. We opted not to go back. I gave her the rundown. That was Funny Girl. Yeah. But it was... I think, again, I don't mean to diss the play.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, it was the musical. I don't think it's bad in general. I just don't think it's modern.
One of my coworkers asked what I thought of it, and she said a musical like Funny Girl needs a star. The story's not enough. The songs aren't enough. You need the star. You go to see the star, and it's basically a vehicle for that star to show off. Whether it's Lea Michele, I think Adele Dazeem, Idina Menzel would be wonderful in it. And, of course, Barbara Streisand. If I had seen any of those folks do it, I think I would feel differently about it. Even Beanie. I think Beanie Feldstein was in it for a minute.
Oh,
that would have been fun.
Yeah.
And
if you're going just to see that person, you're right. That would be really good. But if it's someone that you've never heard of and you're actually trying to follow the plot, you're like, oh my God.
Well, and there couldn't be a more goy actress than Melissa Manchester playing her mother.
Oh, I forgot about the Melissa Manchester of it all.
Which we won't get into a lot because we don't really have a lot to say about her, but she didn't look like Melissa Manchester anymore because she's older. Here's the thing, though. Robin arrives at the Van Wezel, and we're getting ready to go, and she thinks, oh, this will be fun. I'll just let my daughter Katie know what I'm doing. And she texted her daughter Katie, I'm with Mayor in Sarasota. We're going to see Funny Girl. And her response was,
I am so sorry. Because we had seen it 6 months earlier, and we were like, oh, my gosh. I came down so I could see it with you and sort of have a laugh and a goof, because just on its own, if you would have been like, hey, do you want to go see it and bring a friend? I would have been like, I got to wash my hair that night.
oh, yeah. And thank God we didn't put all of our chips on the Frankie Avalon show because he canceled.
He canceled?
He didn't even, he was sick. I don't know what happened, but he had to cancel the show.
At that age, you need to take care of yourself, Frankie.
Well, yeah, you can't do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
You know.
So.
And I had a whole conversation with somebody who thought I was talking about Frankie Valli. And it was a while before we figured it out. And they're two very different people. Everybody under 40, don't worry about it. Over 40, can you believe they mixed up Frankie Avalon and Frankie Valli?
I mean, honestly, when you said, do you want to see Sherry Baby? When you said, do you want to see Frankie Avalon? I was like, is this a Frankie Avalon tribute show? Because I didn't know if he was still on this earth.
He's still on this earth. And he was old when he did Grease. So let's move past that.
He was so old when he did Grease.
Yeah, Beauty School Dropout.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Grease, I'm going to just throw something in here that we didn't write down.
Yeah.
Stockard Channing turned 80 and she got divorced from, I think, her 5th husband.
Stockard? First of all, okay, we're going to unpack this one. I fucking love Stockard Channing. She got divorced from her 5th husband and she turned 80.
I believe so. I mean, like everything else in this world, there's no fact checking on this.
No, but girl. Oh, we are going to talk about Stockard Channing for a few minutes. Maybe longer than we talked about Funny Girl. Don't you love her?
I loved her, and I liked it that she was 35 and she was the slut in a high school.
35.
Grease musical.
Now, was that your first encounter with Stockard Channing?
It might have been, and I think I always confused her with Joanne Worley.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But I thought Stockard Channing was quite pretty.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I was little, the people who would really, like the girls or the women that I would watch, and I would think, like, that's a pretty lady. It was always kind of like the dark-haired people. I remember the Charlie's Angels. I always thought Sabrina was the prettiest. And I always thought, like, Stockard Channing was, like, a really pretty lady.
Which one was Sabrina? Jacqueline Smith or the other one, Kate Jackson?
Kate Jackson. And I
Oh,
always
the
thought,
smart one.
yeah, and they always sort of
I
made
like
her be
Jacqueline
like the smart one. And
Yeah, they
Farrah
do.
Fawcett and Jacqueline Smith. I was like, you know what? She ended up playing Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, and she had a little scratchy voice. I'm gonna say it. I understand, as the kids say.
You're such a goofball. I got to go back, though. Stockard Channing. My first encounter. Little girl. I don't know how old I was. 10, 12, 15. Who the fuck knows? The 4:30
12,
movie.
15, 37.
It was last week. So they used to have a thing when I was growing up on ABC Channel 7. We'd get home from school and we'd all pile in the living room. Well, me and Moggy, my sister, we'd go in the living room and we would watch the 4:30 movie. Now, 4:30 movie went until 6, and they were commercials, so sometimes you had to watch it 2-3 days in a row. When Gone with the Wind was on, it took the whole fucking week because it was very long. But sometimes you had to watch the $1 Million Movie to see those movies. So anyway, this is a midday movie in New York. So there were TV movies on there mostly, and there was one starring Stockard Channing and one Edward Asner. Ed Asner.
Dang,
It was
that
called
sounds
The
familiar.
Girl Most Likely To. And Stockard Channing is a chubby girl with a big nose who's not very popular, and it's not going well for her in life, but she's in college and she's real smart. And people make fun of her and they do pranks on her, and it's just horrible. It's
Kind of
a
like
fun.
Carrie.
Yeah, but picture a chubby brunette with a big nose.
Okay.
So not looking like Sissy Spacek. Stockard Channing with padding on and prosthetics on her
Prosthetics.
face. So, things happen, and I don't remember exactly what gets you there, but she has a horrible accident, and she ends up in the hospital in a coma, and her face is pretty much destroyed. So they have to redo her face with plastic surgery, and she's been in a coma, so she loses weight. She leaves the hospital as a drop-dead bombshell, gorgeous gal, and what does she do the rest of the movie? Kill everybody that fucked with her the rest of the earlier part of her life, and who's the cop looking for her?
Ed Asner.
Ed Asner, and they fall in love in the end.
I feel
Fucking awesome.
I feel like I've seen that.
One of my favorite movies, impossible to find for 30 years. I think I watched it on YouTube a couple years ago. I finally found it again. You can't get it on DVD.
Now, if I might say, and I do not mean to insult the great state of New York, but I feel like that was very irresponsible to show a movie at 4:30. Kids should be doing their homework, not watching Stockard Channing
We got out of
movies.
school at 3. If you weren't done by then, what the fuck? What are you, lazy fuck? Come on. What are you doing? It's 4:30. Getting ready for dinner.
I would say you should be doing your homework, having a snack, and then like at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, watch your Stockard Channing movie.
That's when the $1 Million Movie would come on. A lot of movies growing up.
Yeah, I don't. Okay. I mean, why
But-
would you call it a $1 million movie? That's what it was called.
It was called The $1 Million Movie, and the theme song was a song which I'll always remember because later on I found out it was the theme to Gone with the Wind. So you'd sit down to watch The $1 Million Movie, which is kind of cheap for a movie. It's kind of like an indie film. So you sit down and watch the movie and you hear...
Sounds like the Waltons.
Oh, no, that's... Name the tune. Like going in.
You're very
Anything
good
else?
at the mouth trumpet.
Well, I can't sing, but I can do the mouth trumpet, and that's horrifying. Anyway, the news came on at 6, so the movie had to be over by 6. 4:30 to 6.
See, that's why I think like the little tiny like half-hour sitcoms. Then you could have a snack, do your homework, and then be like, oh, I'm gonna be done in time to see the reruns of Hogan's Heroes. But
Oh, you
no.
mean like Sanford said? We watched all the sitcoms. We watched all the movies. We were consumers of anything you would throw at us. Bring us the content. And we didn't use any of those words when we were kids. We just called it TV watching.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of afternoon TV watching,
Yeah.
but I never remember a movie. But the Stockard Channing movie, I think I saw that. That
Really?
seems really familiar.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
There is a movie now out with Kristen Wiig from 5, 6, 10 years ago, because time is irrelevant now. And it was called The Girl Most Likely To, and it's Kristen Wiig doing something. It's not the same movie. I thought, did they remake it with Kristen Wiig? Because that would be wonderful. But they didn't. But if I may, Stockard Channing. And then she went on to do Rizzo. She was Rizzo in Grease. And then she was on West Wing for 30 or 40 years.
She went on to do Rizzo.
Yeah.
That's the most Grease thing you can ever say. So she was an actress in her mid-30s. She did this great thing with Ed Asner. Then she went on to play a high schooler.
No, but The Girl Most Likely To is definitely like at least 10 years before. I don't know. If only there were a way we could look it up.
No, I think that's just a beautiful tribute to what a
She
wonderful
went on to further her career.
to play a high school slut.
Who thought she was pregnant, but turned out okay. She wasn't.
But that was the beauty of the movie.
Yeah.
They didn't even try to make these actors look like high school students.
No, they were probably all the same age as Eve Arden when they made it. and Sid Caesar, the old-timey teachers and principals and stuff. Meanwhile, it's like, my sciatica. It's going to be all right, Stockard. We just got to do 2 more scenes on the Ferris wheel. All right, these shorts.
All right, because my kids need a ride to middle school.
Everybody smoked back then. Ah, it's a good time. Stockard Channing.
Stockard Channing.
Love her. 80. She's really got a new fan base because of that witch movie. Oh, Mary, could you be more specific? I believe she was in Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. And I want to say Diane Wiest. I watched that finally. It's very weird.
I 100% know what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't?
Uh-uh.
Oh, when we do our Halloween episode, maybe we'll talk about Halloween movies. It's called Practical Magic, and Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman are both witches, and their aunts are Diane Wiest and Stockard Channing.
And that's different than the movie with Sarah
Hocus
Jessica
Pocus?
Parker. Yes,
That's different.
that's different. 2 different movies.
Oh my God. Very different.
Got it.
But if I may, there's also, if you're interested in witches, Mary, don't. I'm going to do it. She's going to go watch Agatha All Along.
Oh, yeah. This one loves the movie. No, it's a TV
series.
series.
Jesus fucking. Hi, my name's Mary. Apparently, we haven't met. It's a limited series, but is it? Was that the first season? We don't know.
We don't know.
It depends on which award show they're putting their stuff up for.
And just to let you know, I did know it was a series. I just said movie because I feel like the older I'm getting, I'm like, are you going to go to the picture show? Here's a nickel. It's like, no, Grandma, we're just going to turn on Netflix. Okay. You have to turn your Victrola if you want to listen to a song.
Music song.
That isn't me like poo-pooing your stuff. No. I get confused.
I had a bit a million years ago that never saw the light of day on stage, and it was I'm so old I have an Victrola.
Victrola, that's funny.
Thank you.
Actually, probably
my good jokes for 20 years later.
Well, and I think it wouldn't be understood because half the people probably don't even know what Victrola is. But if you do, and you say Victrola, that's funny to the people.
They're still wondering what Frankie Valley is. Is that a place? Frankie Avalon.
Frankie Avalon's a car. Frankie Valley's a place. That's just the way it goes.
It's true. So we did cover one of our topics that we said we would, which is unusual for us. We did the Funny Girl review.
Funny Girl review?
Yeah. And again, if I may, please don't fire me. I'm sure it was a great show for everybody else. Not everybody has to love every single show. That's not what life is.
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone has just different opinions and different feelings. And again, I don't think it was bad. It just wasn't on my top 10.
And we're pretty simple. And that we had intentions of going and buying all the merch because who doesn't want something that says Funny Girl on it? Mm-hmm. But we forgot.
Yeah, it was so cold. It was so cold.
You had coffee.
I had coffee, and then I had to get back and then drive like another hour and a half in the cold, and it was like kind of like spitty rain,
the snow and the sleet.
Yeah, it was snowing.
Put on your snow toys.
It was. I had to put on the chains, and
we should have sand tires here. Is that a thing?
No, I don't even think they put down sand, do they?
Tires?
No, sand.
What?
I've just never seen them sand the roads.
No, I mean when you're on the beach and driving like in Daytona.
Oh, one time I went to Texas and it was snowing and they put down sand instead of salt. And I was like,
it doesn't work.
Silly people.
We used to try to use kitty litter just because we were cheap.
Oh, yeah, I could see.
And there were cats.
Yeah.
There were cats in my life.
Yeah.
You should know that. Like married, forget it. So we did the Funny Girl thing. I did want to talk about something else that's really super important. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Robin, do you remember your very first podcast that you listened to?
As much as I like podcasts, I think I had a podcast before I listened to it because I knew what they were and a lot of people in Tampa were doing them. But I don't remember the very first one. Do you have memories of your very first one?
I just think it's funny because I remember you doing yours. Mm-hmm. And I remember going with you. And I remember deciding, this isn't going to last. This is one of those fly-by-night things. Like when I went to film school and they said, Mary, maybe look into video and digital stuff. I'm like, I'm going to stick with celluloid because I know what matters. So I'm never one to go to when there's things changing to see where the future is going to bring us. I ride along and I enjoy it, but I'm never able to predict it. So I thought podcasts were going to die a slow death. There are now 4 million podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
4,000,001 if you count Scooch Ovaries. I remember, and you'll remember this name, Jay Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah. I liked him.
Jay Tomatoes, a good friend from previous life when I did comedy. Jay had one thing and one thing only in life that he wanted to get across to me besides the fact that he thought I was funny and he enjoyed my comedy and like talking to me about comedy. He wanted me to just once listen to a specific podcast that he loved and admired. He had a love of Jim Carrey, which was separate. He was always on Twitter following Jim Carrey and he enjoyed that. But I was told I had to listen to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, What the Fuck.
Good podcast.
And that was the first one. And I remember I was standing in the parking lot in a hotel parking lot in Michigan because I was at the Laugh Fest, Gilda Radner Laugh Fest in Michigan, Grand Rapids. Years ago, I was probably halfway through my comedy career and had the opportunity to go and perform as a professional stand-up in a set and a show. Mm-hmm. And I had a great time. And they were all like, oh my God, your stuff's great. You should get out on the road. I'm like, I know. I got to get back to my bookkeeping job. So I didn't, but yeah, it was fun to perform there. But he told me, Mary, I know you're on the road. You got some time to kill. You need to go and listen. And I did finally listen. And I thought, oh, it took me so long.
Yeah.
I think it's also, I get kind of, stupid and simple when it comes to boys sometimes. I don't know if you guys know, but I really like ladies. And I think ladies are better. I do. It's not new information. So I'm like, it's just a boy talking. And I listened to Mark Maron, and he is insightful and funny and vulnerable and not boasty and real.
I was going to say, I listened to him. He's not like on my regular playlist, but it's a really good podcast. And I feel like, I mean, most of his podcasts are super long, but I feel like that's kind of what podcasts were when they very first came out. They just were what they were, and no one thought about sponsors and keeping it under this many minutes and that many minutes. There were no rules. It was just kind of the wild, wild west. And he's probably one of the most OG of all the podcasters.
Yeah, and because he was pretty established even at that time, I forgot. I kind of buried the lead. He did a live performance with people on stage of his show, and I went and watched it. And Natasha Leggero's husband was one of the guys.
Oh, Mo Kesher, I like him.
I was like, oh my God. And another fellow who I can't remember his name, but he was an up and comer.
He's so good.
He was, I don't know, just some white guy, some young white guy. He probably became something after that. But there were a lot of people at that festival, and I enjoyed it. And I got to perform, and I got to see some people, so it was a good time. But that was my first, and then you and I did one, and then at one point I was going to do one called Transitions, about people who were going through a change in their life, and because I could never stop talking about becoming a late in life lesbian, it's like, yawn, but, to me it's still interesting. So
you might be helping people out there as well.
Yeah, I thought that would be fun. I almost did that at one point, and then I didn't, and then started Contrary Gardens. Robin has done many, many stints on different AM talk show radio stuff. You have done half a dozen at least, which is not a podcast, but you did a lot of radio through the years since I've known you.
I don't know that I've done that much, but I have done
Rachel,
radio. Yeah.
Stand Up, AM, Sarasota stuff.
It was Rochelle.
What did I say, Rachel? I'm not cutting it out. It doesn't matter. Rochelle, that was the play in Seinfeld.
Yeah, Rochelle. I've done Stand Up for News. I think they're going to come back and do something on indie radio. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so it's I like, I don't know why I like this format, whether it be a podcast or whether it be on the radio. I think it's fun. I mean, as much as I like doing stand-up where you write stuff and you think it out, it's also kind of fun just winging it, just kind of being impromptu, if you will.
It is fun to do. And can I talk a little more about podcasts I listen to?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. There's no sorries in podcasting.
There's no sorries in podcasting.
Another person who advised me to try to open up a little bit, because I then wrote off podcasts again and leave them. I left them on the side of the road. I said, nah, it's not for me.
And they were like, yeah. So get out of here, you podcast.
Get home. Like Harry and the Hendersons. Get out of here. Nobody wants you. What the fuck? So anyway, my nephew Corey enjoys podcasts and has from the get-go, and he suggested Pod Save America, and then I listened and I loved it and thought, oh, I get it. And then I found the girl version of Pod Save America called Hysteria, and all of the folks on both of those podcasts worked for either the Hillary or the Obama campaigns and were in the staff. Yeah. And just savvy political stuff,
smart
great
people.
Stuff. Yeah, I love listening to them. I could listen to them all day, and they always had great guests. So, but I think my current favorite one, though, I'm going to go with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's.
Yeah, she's got a really good podcast.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, she's got a good.
And I feel like Robin's looking at the clock.
Oh, no, I was not. I was actually looking at your notes.
Oh, can you read my handwriting?
BBC Routers AP.
If you are looking for a news source, we do not suggest you come to Scooch Ovaries for accurate, timely, objective news. I wanted to ask you what you're using, because I keep hearing about different sources and like even Al Jazeera. But BBC, Reuters, and AP, I feel like they may be the best place to go these days. What do you think?
Yeah. I think, honestly, most people probably go to AP and then sort of put their spin on it. But I think AP's a really good news source.
Like Sandra Dee, the cooking show, she takes something that's already cooked and adds something to it and makes it her own. And that's what they all do with the AP newsreels.
Yeah, because I think there's a point in time where you just need the chunks and the facts, and then you can spin it wherever. And I feel like AP is like the closest of just like a newswire, like fresh off the presses. Here we go. Do.
Like ticker tape.
Yeah, ticker tape. That's what I feel is it's sort of
Young people, ticker tape is when the old days when news was happening. There was no internet. There was no flash. There was no. They weren't even doing telegrams. It was just a machine and a little piece of paper came out of it with words on it. It was awesome.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what the closest place that I can go to just to hear like this is what happened before someone takes it, spits it out, and regurgitates it. So just like X, Y, and Z happened, and then before it just gets mutilated in just a gulfy slush.
Now, when you were growing up and the newspaper came to your house, did you have any feelings either way about that newspaper having any bias?
No.
It wasn't even a thing you cared about or to look
I didn't
into.
even think it was. Yeah. It was just like, I just sort of thought it was just the facts. Like, here are the facts. And then you grow up and then you're like, no, depending on who's writing it, it's whose lens you're seeing it from. And then cable news came and then it just turned to shit. Here we are today.
Yeah. Well, we grew up getting the New York Times every day, which always made me think, we can't be that trashy. We got the Times. Lo and behold, sometimes, trash wins. So we got the New York Times every day, and I really felt that was objective. And the old gray lady was amazing. We even took school trips to go there and check out the plant. And I had like the little typeface stuff, and ended up wanting to take a class in school where we did printing, where you had to pull each letter out of the case. And then those cases became a thing where people would put their thimbles and shit. They'd hang on the wall. I'm like, oh my God, where's the A's? Where's the B's?
Yeah.
And I was so into that at one point. I just really enjoyed that even. Words were always going to be a part of what I enjoyed the most growing up. Even though I'll never live it down, I did go into work one day and say hyperbole, and they never let it fucking go. It's hyperbole. When you learn a word from reading, no one should make fun of you for mispronouncing it.
Oh, I agree. I think I said Don Quixote's a very long time before I said Don Quixote. So we all got one of those burning in the back of our mind.
It's like quinoa.
Yeah.
Quinoa,
yeah.
Those words that are hard. Yeah, and don't even get me started on Irish names because I pass out. Like, that doesn't say Siobhan. That's not what that says. That's not Joaquin. It's Joaquin. We covered a lot, and also, I'm not going to, tune in next week to hear me tell a story about going to the Catholic Church. You're going to love it. It's fantastic. We're going to do that next week. What else are we going to talk about next week? Let's give them a little preview.
Okay. I don't know that I told you this, but I went to an art show last week. Yeah.
We're going to delve into that.
Yeah. The
and
reason
so much more.
I'm saying that is because one of my segments that didn't make it as a segment is about an art show. So, yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
We should write that down because we're going to forget.
Because we're going to do the next podcast next week. We're going to change our shirts and have a drink of water and come back and do the next podcast.
A look behind the curtain that we've been giving you every single week.
Everyone's like, yeah, we know you're so repetitive. We know you're going to do another one and then meet back in 4 weeks to do 4 more.
Hey, if it ain't broke.
Yeah.
Don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Another reminder, we also have our fun run coming up. So if anyone out there is like, hey, you know what? I think I want to run along with them. I mean, wherever you're at, just find a fun run in April near you. You don't have to do ours.
But if you're in the state of Florida and you're going to be around early April and you want to run on the beach with the turtles and us.
We'll be like the ab fab ladies in the back with cigarettes. Come on, darling, let's run. No. I think we're gonna give it a whirl.
We're gonna give it a whirl. Mm-hmm. There's a really good chance that Robin will be running. We're not saying what I'm doing yet, but I'm gonna be there. And at the end, there's bagels.
Ooh, yeah. There's always
bananas and oranges.
Yeah, and sometimes beer. I think we've covered this before.
Yeah.
Sometimes beer.
Well, there's always beer at the beer run. but we haven't signed up for that one yet.
And even just regular runs, there's beer.
I thought people had to like leave and get their beer. Like isn't that things that's what runners clubs often do. They all meet afterward and have a beer. I remember reading that because they said, I went for a long run. Dear Runners Magazine, I went for a long run, came home, sat down, opened a beer. Anything wrong with that? And they said, the only thing right was the beer. Why didn't you cool down? You can't go for a run and then sit down for an hour. You gotta cool down.
That's probably right. I just feel like in the last like 3 or 4 years, every like run that I've done, fun run or charity run, there's just always like beer there.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it's like 10:30 in the morning.
Maybe in the future when we do runs, we could get people to like sponsor us and shit. But that would mean money has to change hands, and that sounds complicated. Just come run with us.
Yeah, I mean, but we could.
We could bang on the mic.
We could be like NASCAR. You could tell us like, we could wear your names on our shirts.
Yeah, but it's going to be like the Olsons. It's not going to be like, a restaurant name. Anyway, how about some segments that didn't make it as segments?
Okay, do you want to go first?
I do. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Is giving all of your family and friends a personality test a bad idea?
Yeah, no. Oh, it's a segment that didn't make it a segment. We can't talk. Okay. My segment that didn't make it as a segment, if oysters can only be eaten in an R month, do these oysters just cut loose during the other times of the year?
Oysters cutting loose.
Yeah. It's like, hey, guys, it's May. Let's, no one's going to be coming for us.
Cut loose.
Cut loose.
That's when they have their festivals.
Yeah, they do.
The film festival. They have their 5Ks.
They do, because they're like, guys, it's an R month. Let's disperse and hide. They're going to be wanting to come for us. On the non-R months, no, they're just throwing themselves like, hey, I'm an oyster. Hey, cutting loose.
What are you gonna do, huh?
What are you gonna do? You're gonna get sick if you eat me. That's what you're gonna do.
It's all such a scam anyway.
It is.
Ugh. Okay, here's another one. And I've done this before. I'm sure of it. I'm doing it again because I can't remember. Is it sneakers or tennis shoes?
You did that one like 3 weeks ago.
No one's questioning my bad memory. We're all in agreement. It's bad.
Okay, now this one.
Did I really?
Yeah. Now this one's like a little sneak peek into next week.
Oh.
In 100 years, what is modern art going to be called?
Gasp. Well, that's enough.
Oh, you know what? That just reminded me. I did this thing called for Gasper. I forgot to read you this joke.
Ladies and gentlemen, bringing this person up on stage makes me so happy. I've worked with her for years. She's hysterical. I've done all the things wrong you're never supposed to do. Give it up for Robin Savage.
No, so this is the one joke I forgot to tell you. I did a roast for Gasparilla. For those of you who don't know, who aren't in Tampa, he's this fictional pirate. We have these giant festivals every year for him, and I forgot to read you this one. So this is my one of my jokes for the Gasparilla Festival roasting of Jose Gaspar. Some out-of-towners who come to the parade call it Arilla. Gasp. Did I tell you that one? No.
What? Did you tell me that one? Yeah, you told me that one.
Oh my gosh! See, now my memory's getting bad.
You don't remember telling me that like an hour ago?
I remember reading this, but when I was talking to you, I was like, you know what? I think I forgot to do the gasp.
No, you did that one. Wow. Yeah, and you even hit the mic when we were in the dining room, and there isn't even a mic there.
There wasn't even a mic there. Now I'm kind of remembering it because I was like, here's what I said, and then here's what the people. Okay, you can just cut all this part out.
I'm leaving all of it in because it's magic.
It's magic.
I do enjoy that we are all over the place, and while we would like to bring you guys organized segments and things you can hear every week, like a similar topic maybe, it's just going to continue to be non sequiturs and chaos.
Nonsense.
For the full run.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Forever and ever.
Gasparilla.
Arilla. So silly.
Robin, we got to go. We got to let the people go.
We do.
They got things to do. They got laundry.
I know. If you were just like, you know what? I'm going to put this podcast on and do my chores. Guys, your chores are almost done.
You know, they're turning it on and starting the vacuum. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. It counts as a listen.
Actually, right now, they're sort of just rambling on. I know they're just cutting it. So this next 3 minutes is just going to be them trying to say their goodbyes, like Midwesterners, like standing at the door. Like, okay, well, thanks for coming. You look really
That's
good.
not a Midwestern thing. That's everybody.
That's everybody.
That's
Okay.
everybody.
Okay,
We're
yeah.
all doing that. We're leaving for an hour.
Yeah, we're rambling on and got one foot out the door, and we're still making small talk.
And the kid's just laying on the floor now.
Yeah, like I want to go.
Hey, tune in next week for another episode of your favorite podcast and ours. Scooch Ovaries!
Scooch over. Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch ovaries!
Oh, look at this stupid computer thing. Hold on. Wait. It's not.
Oh, I thought it said diet for ejected property.
We should always diet for protected property. Do you not know?
You look great. Thanks. I've been dieting for ejected property. So stupid.
It's funny. Mary Lysett just texted. And she said,
She's our number one fan. That's who she is.
she is. I bought one of these things. She's been talking about a space heater because she's freezing.
I was going to say, if I had the space heater, I would have used one last night.
Yeah. So she picked one up and she said, I bought one of these. I've been spinning in front of it like a rotisserie chicken. My God.
I would have to compete with that with my cats.
Well, oh yeah, because they would want to be by it, but they would go on fire. Okay, I think we're good. They would. They burn up, the little kitties.
I mean, I think they're smart enough not to just sit there until they